Hi there. This is a very uncomfortable subject, understandably shied away from and viewed as taboo. It frightens people, so isn't discussed openly. But it's a very relevant subject and should be talked about more. I'm going to be quite candid about how things have been for me and still are to a certain extent. Firstly, I'm not going to call it committing suicide. That makes it sound like a crime, which it is not. Nor is it someone being moody, a selfish act, nor is it sinful. It's a serious medical condition where there are biological and chemical changes in the brain. It's not something you can just pull yourself together from. Many with ME die by suicide, and many others would have had it cross their minds at some time. ME is a horrendous condition to live with, which is very misunderstood by others. If sufferers had the choice of dying or of recovery, it's most likely they'd go for the recovery. The depression that often comes with ME is one more of frustration and fear and uncertainty rather than lack of motivation or interest, although that can be there too. No living creature likes to be trapped. Even amoebas in a petri dish don't like to be cornered, and they're the simplest life form. Animals in a trap will chew their leg off in order to escape. We are the same. We have a massive inner drive to escape the feeling of being trapped. ME creates that feeling of being trapped, and when you feel like that, all you can think of is wanting to escape in whichever way is available to you, and that may mean suicide. I've said in my other videos how brain science shows that we can lose some of our ability to access our coping mechanism and reasoning ability when we are under severe physical or mental distress. It's not our fault, it's just the way the brain works. The fear that comes with ME is incomprehensible to those who have never experienced it. Just knowing that we are suicidal is frightening in itself. I have been through days that were sheer horror because of how severe the symptoms were. I was terrified of what I had to face and dreaded each day. I've experienced panic attacks before ME, but the ones I've had since becoming severely affected are different in that they literally go on for days. They start with the moment of waking and go on until I fall asleep in exhaustion at night. Then I'd wake and have terrible dreams and shallow, wakeful sleep. That's if I slept at all. This level of panic does not allow you to be able to calm yourself, be comforted, or be reasoned with, or feel 1 second of peace. The brain just doesn't function enough. This level of fear means that a huge amount of adrenaline is being produced in my system, but I was often in near paralysis, so could barely move. My brain screamed, "Run," but my body couldn't. You cannot imagine how horrendous that feels, and it was day after day for years. My waking thoughts were totally dominated by this need to escape, and the only escape being suicide. I didn't want to think these thoughts, but I had no control over them, and I wasn't well enough to have any type of distraction. A terrifying time in the life of an ME sufferer is when it gets to the point where you are losing physical ability so fast that you have to make the decision to kill yourself while you're still able. So every day I would wonder, is this the day? I also had the problem of how to take my life, being very limited to what I could actually do. I even asked Nigel to kill me. Of course he wasn't going to, but assisted suicide is not unheard of in ME. I had very little ability, but I was able to go online on my phone sometimes, although I'd suffer severely for it afterwards. I looked up a suicide site which had a table of methods, the percentage of success, how long it took, and how painful it was. It made the point that many suicide attempts fail and people just end up severely injuring themselves. I couldn't bear the thought of a failed attempt and making myself worse, so that stopped me doing anything. However, I never once wanted to die. I just wanted the misery of my life to stop. And now I'm a little bit better. My days are more manageable. However, they can still dip into the unbearable. But I have more hope and really do want to live. I have a lot to live for and I hang on to that. Something that I used to do is what is called a suicide fantasy. This is where you plan how you would take your life. This motion of mental planning actually can give you a measure of relief because you are giving yourself an option of escape. It can make you feel less trapped. But here is where I'm going to say that if you are suicidal and think you may go through with it, please tell someone. Talking about it helps. It creates chemical changes in the brain. If you have no one, contact the Samaritans. Don't sit alone with these thoughts because I know what it's like to do that too. ME can hold you at the brink of suicide for years. The symptoms are akin to torture and are relentless. It's totally destroying. However, there is a chance to recover or at least improve. It happens. It is possible. You can have better days, so please don't give up. Not yet. Hang in there. Things can change, so please hold on to that shred of hope. I'll put some suicide helpline details in the description below. They won't be specialising in ME, of course, but sometimes just someone hearing how bad things are for us can relieve enough of the emotional charge to enable us to get through another hour. Well, thank you for listening to this. Bye.